that on the fly. Good job, Matt. Thank you. So I brought some paper. You know what? We don't have any clipboards, so you're gonna have to deal with it. Yes, but here we go. I take a couple sheets so you think a little bit stiffer. Okay. There you go. Hello. I just saw you. Here you go. Actually, is it possible to kind of take it, pass it down type of thing? Okay. Then I got to come around. Does everyone raise your hand if you need something to draw with? Right here you go. Okay.
Hey, we spared no expense.
Yeah.
His wife was like, do we get the 64 or the 96 pack of crayons? She said, we got to get the 96 packs for the team. Boom! Spared no expense.
Yeah. I'm going to give you a darker. There you go. You need a dark crayon?
I'll take some.
Think about crayons. I'm actually going to draw the crayon too. You need a crayon? Oh my gosh, Dorothy. My wife's name is Dorothy.
You guys take
Okay,
one
there you
piece
go.
and pass it down for.
There you go.
Pass the rest of it down. No, the rest of it.
You crayon?
Take that
Good.
piece here. Hold on to it.
Okay.
Okay, now pass the packet down so they can get There you go.
Crayon, you need a crayon. Here's our crayon. Here's kind of a, let me see, here's a dark blue crayon.
Thank you.
Let me see, here's kind of a, let me see, I'm going to kind of go, there's a kind of gray. There you go. There you go. Is everyone pretty good? They have a crayon? If it breaks, and it may break, I don't know. Just run up, here's a bunch of crayons. I'm going to use a crayon. On a board.
That way Dorothy doesn't get back. She said, take a couple pictures.
Thanks, man.
All right, here.
All right. I'll stand up there.
All right, good stuff, man.
Thank you.
Kill it.
All right, guys, so raise your hand if you've actually drawn with one of my little panels here before. A couple of you? All right, so we might we're going to draw Stitch because that's the most popular thing in the world. And you can draw things, I've drawn Stitch. I'm so good at drawing Stitch because I've drawn him more than one time. I'll give you a basic background. Some of you, I'm guessing you're here because you kind of know who I am, but my name is Peter Raymundo. I was a Walt Disney animator. I worked at the Florida studio. Our big movies there that we made here in Florida was Mulan, Lilo and Stitch, and Brother Bear. But I also worked on 9 movies, including Tarzan, The Emperor's New Groove, Beauty and the Beast, The Lion King, Pocahontas, and The Princess and the Frog. And The Little Match Girl, if anyone's ever seen that. Anyway, I draw a lot. How you get hired at Disney is you have to, I didn't know how to animate. You had to draw, it was all drawing ability. Like I got hired 1995, just I had a portfolio of about 200, maybe about 300 sketches. And they're quick sketches. And what I was able to design, get to a point of using volumes to like cylinders, circles, stuff like that. I could draw anything. Like I could break down a cat, a dog, a person, whatever, until it just looked like I could draw anything. But that's of course that's everybody at Disney. But you had to get to that level to get hired. And so when you're drawing something like Stitch, it's the same thing. Now I've drawn like Stitch many times, so it's kind of, and we're just going to draw like his head and kind of a simple head here at first. So it's going to be maybe new, to a lot of you, but we're going to start with like really simple shapes first. When I'm drawing like a whole body, I start with like these, gosh, I move my hand really fast a lot of times. I won't do that here as much, but I draw the big shapes and the big flow, and I'm always like almost doing the whole drawing at one time. I'll kind of do that even here because that's just what I do. But we're going to start with like when you're drawing, if you're learning to draw, and you guys, if you're some of you want to be artists, start with the big shapes first. I can't say that enough. It doesn't have to be like in exactly a circle, exactly an oval, but whatever the biggest shape is, start with that. Okay. So I have my board here. I'm going to draw. Let's draw probably horizontal. That might be the best. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw just like kind of a simple Stitch's head. And you know what? Hold on 1 second. Let me get a chair here. I think that might help me out. Some of you, I'm sorry if you're on that side, it might be trickier to see. Okay. So One thing I've noticed when I'm drawing and I'm drawing like this, it looks so horrible. It's like becomes like this oblong looking thing. So I'm going to give you the basics, but we're going to start drawing. Basically, let me draw it first. This might be new to you guys. Even though we're doing a crayon, I usually use pencils, but I hold the pencil initially like this, not like this, like you're writing, but like this, and it might feel very foreign to you guys at first. But the reason you do that with a pencil is that you're not like pressing into the paper, and it's easy to erase. What I'm going to do is draw basically an oval. Actually, on the paper, hold on, let me do this like first. So when I'm trying to give you every little step. Okay, those are literally my first marks, right? So they're and what that is the size of his head. So I'm starting to gauge, and they're kind of closer to the bottom because I know his ears are going to come up here. But I'm just starting to gauge the width. If you guys can see that, those are my very first little marks. Okay, they're very simple, but they're like right there. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go because we're going down though. Don't go ahead of me though. Okay. I'll show you what I'm going to draw on here first. I'm drawing really lightly here. And now, when I'm doing these lines, a lot of times, it's I use a lot of lines because I don't get scared if you're trying to like be like where is that right or wrong. So that's my initial shape there. Okay. Do you notice how many lines I have there? And they're really light, right? Even with a crayon, I can go darker. But if I teach kids for part-time here during the week, and one of the main things that kids do a lot is they don't do this. They do one of two things. They go scratch, 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 which isn't really right. Or they like carve in one line and they get stuck. It's like, I don't know the line. But the best thing is just have this flow. Right? This flow. Okay, I'm going to give you a minute to kind of do like that. It's just like an oval, but not quite, right? This is a little bit flatter. It's a little bit flatter at the bottom here. Okay, so I'm assuming a lot of you have probably seen Mickey Mouse. There's a lot of very similarities to how you construct Mickey Mouse. You have to draw things in dimensions. I'm going to put, what would you call it? But it's like a center line, okay, down his face. Let me put that here. Now, don't draw hard. Don't draw hard. These are just construction lines here. Okay, so that's like a center line. Okay. This is actually how we draw. I mean, literally, this is when I draw a stitch, and I draw a lot of stitches. This is how I start. That center line is really critical. Okay, now that I have that center line, I'm not really have to put that much of an eye line because it's just like it's a simpler drawing. But we're going to start with his nose in here. His nose, you see my bottom line? The nose does not touch the bottom line. Okay, so I just put a little mark there. Now what I'm going to start with is a big circle. You can see what it means. His nose is it's not quite a circle. It's like a rounded triangle. But the circle gives me a simple shape to give me the basic size. Like that. Okay? I like the basic size of his nose. Okay? So now that you have that circle, though, again, think of his nose as like a rounded, very rounded, like a triangle, but very, very rounded, okay? So I'm going to kind of round this top off a bit here. And then, okay, so I rounded the top off a little bit, but then I usually often turn the paper upside down. And I'll do these the sides a little bit, and then I'll bring it down more into like this kind of triangle. Okay, so I end up with a shape that looks more like that. You know, one thing I'd say about, have you guys ever seen like animation tables, like those big wooden ones we use, those big desks? They have a disc in the middle, it's round. That's actually can turn. That's the whole purpose of it. It's really important actually. I turned the drawing hundreds of times, drawing. And we even put soap in the middle so you can do what there's holes at the top and bottom of that disc so you can do that's for your finger to just spin it around. And the reason for that is that the natural arc of your hand is like this, right? So if you're having to do a circle or whatever curve like that, it's much harder to go like that. It's not natural, right? So you just turn the paper. You can do the rough, but once you're doing a line, you turn it. So even with this, you saw I turned my whole board or my paper upside down or to whatever angle it matches that. Okay. So what I'm going to do though is I'm going to kind of even out his head. You see how my nose is not quite centered, right? So I'm going to change the head, and I'm not going to change the nose, but just so it's a little bit more equal. So you might want to do that on yours for a second. I'm going to tie that down a tad more. Don't go too hard on the top because you need to have those hairs, there's 3 hairs. I'm just trying to even this out. So it looks about the same width. Again, even with these crayons, I love crayons actually. I love black crayons. When I talk at schools, I use the black crayons a lot. Okay, so all I did was even that out. But the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on his the light blue mask. Remember, he's like blue, and then his around his eyes are light blue. And then you start with his eyebrows, especially in this angle. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up. Don't go ahead and meet first. Just kind of wait to see what I do. Okay, so I start off kind of going like that. That's so his eyebrows. Okay. And first I'm going to go lightly, before I go too dark with the eyebrows, like the whole shape of the mask. That includes like down here. It goes all the way down. Okay, so it goes all the way down kind of like that. Okay. Okay, now his eyebrows are important. A lot of times, on facial features, some, like silent movies and like the Three Stooges too, where they would put on really thick eyebrows to kind of accentuate the expression. But we, as human, you probably have heard this before, but like say emojis, the reason they're so successful is because like a smiley face, we, like a baby can tell if a person's smiling or frowning just from the eyebrows alone. So I'm going to make them darker, but you don't go all the way. The whole thing's not dark around, but just those eyebrows I'm going to make a little bit more distinct. Okay, so you see how I made the eyebrows much more distinct? And then I'm going to also hit the whole mask, I'll just kind of outline a little bit more. Okay, so we're should be kind of like at this point. Okay, is everyone feeling pretty good? It's pretty simple. It's all just simple shapes, but notice again, I went from the very biggest shapes, I'm going to I'll gradually get smaller and smaller shapes. Okay, stitch though, is once you go above this eyebrow, the basic way you draw that is you put the eyebrow, but there's this fold of skin that's always, you look at the next stitch, time you see a stitch drawing, there's the eyebrow, and then this fold that comes over it. That kind of gives it just some more like realism in a way. But you go from the same side line. Okay, you see how I did this whole line curves into one thing over the eyebrow. Okay, that's all one line. It's all one line like that. Okay, so the next thing we're going to do is his nose. Stitch has really big nostrils. And you don't really pay attention to them much because they're kind of almost the same color. But the way you do it is we're going to curve like a little S curve from the bottom and then around. And then because it's straight on, you don't see them that much, but you see them a little bit. One thing I'd say is when I am drawing everything like this, I'm always measuring, especially if they're symmetrical like this. See these little lines I have here? They go across. I'm always measuring the height so it's kind of correct. So same thing with the nostrils. You just want to have like, make sure they're like, they're kind of same height. So I'm going to go up. Okay. So, wait, hold on. It's kind of close. So you see how I curved up? I went like, it's like on that side, and like that. It's like a little S, like an S curve. That's a real term, S curve. Okay. You can't see him that much. Now, I'm going to do this with his nose. I just do it so I can see it better. So I'm going to shade it with the side. Not like how you write, but like with the sides, it's a little flatter. And I'm just going to go up and down. Don't always go, a lot of times when you're shading, you want to have the same direction of lines. Just go up and down, but don't fill the whole thing in. If you kind of leave this top part blank, the white of the paper gives it a type of highlight to it. So let me see if I can do that from here. And don't overthink it. I'm just doing this so I can. Okay, so something like that. Just so you can see the nose a little bit better too. Okay, we're getting there. Well, I think next probably I start putting in his hair on the top of his head. And it's always the same. It's not random. It's not just like these random hairs. There's 3. And the backest one, the furthest one back, it goes like backwards. So it's like up, like back and down. And then the next 2 are forward, forward. Okay? So let me show you what I mean with it. You want a little bit more head, a little bit of his head here. Okay. I'm going to do the first one. Okay. So I added a little more lines of his head coming up. So it's a little more. And look how the back one is like back and then down. It's like backwards and down. Okay? Backwards and down. Okay. So then the next one is like forward and then forward for the next 2 hairs. Okay? Okay. So it's like back down and then forward, forward. Okay, well, let's see where we're at. Okay. So now Stitch, you will see, always has these, there's 2 lines over his nose. And the one closer to his nose is longer than the one above it. There's 2. They're like, so if he was to turn straight sideways, he's going like a dog. He's going forward. So let me put these 2 lines here. You'll see that one is something like that. Okay. That gives a sense of like these folds of his nose. Okay. So we're going to put in his eyes. They're so critical, his eyes, that they're black, right? But it's that highlight is really, really important. It's a highlight. It's not a pupil in there. He has black eyes. I'm going to put a basic. Okay, hold on. The first thing I'm doing. I'm trying to go step by step. I put little marks so I know that they're the same. The bottom of them are the height. Now his eyes are basically slanted. Okay, but I'm going to show one at a time. What I'll do is actually I'll go like, put a line like this so you can see that they're, if that's like through the center, what his eyes would be, they're slanted like that. Okay? But they're very rounded, but this keeps you the idea that they're slanted. So watch what I'm going to do. I'm going to go, I have that line up, but then I'm going to go, okay, so I see on this side, I just did the bottom arc. Okay? On his left eye, I did the bottom arc. So now when I do the top part, I'm going to first go almost straight up with it and then curve over. Okay? You want them to be pretty big. Usually they're pretty big. Okay, so you see what I did? All I did is I went almost straight up and then I curved over. Okay? Almost straight up and then I curved over. So do that with the other eye as well. Remember, you have this, you follow it up and then you go up and then over. And remember this, where I said I'm always measuring the height. I guess you could say both eyes are around the top of his nose, that top arc. Do not color in the eyes yet. Okay, so I'm basically like this, okay? You see we have them? Don't worry about that line, we're gonna color those in. Now what we're gonna do though is we wanna put in that highlight. Funny thing is with Stitch, like any, I don't know if you've ever seen Puss in Boots too, but like if you have this black eye, the more cute one I'm gonna have, the bigger that highlight. Sometimes you put even like 2 or 3 like highlights, but normally he just has the one. So you want them to be, generally they're kind of closer to the inside of his eyes. Like that. Okay. So I put a little circle there. It's closer to the inner side. Okay. And then using, again, the same direction of color in his eyes. Okay. Do not color in the highlight, right? That's going to stay white. If you want to do, so I'm going to be like in, and this one's going to be in, but within the eye, use the same direction of lines. Okay, so it looks like that. All right. And then I'm going to color in the other eye. Okay, so he's starting to come together. I'm guessing step by step you guys are probably looking pretty good. Where people really start to struggle when his mouth is open, when I draw him with the mouth open, and so, you know, I can do it, but like the teeth sometimes are just hard to do. Okay, so another little detail that Stitch has that I used to get wrong. He has these little creases under his eye. It's not in the light blue, it's in the blue. So it's kind of like here. Okay? Sometimes you can put, depending on his expression, I'll do it right here, you can put like a little mark like above his eye too. It just kind of gives a tad of an eyelid going on. But we're pretty close right here now. So I'm looking at this, I'm going to darken in to define what the bottom is of his mouth here, his face. Now, you'll notice on this it doesn't have his light blue jaw. Maybe we'll add that in. Hold on, let me see what that is. Well, we won't add that in because it'll look like string. This is already kind of abstract. Okay. We're going to put in his ears. Now, his ears are pretty big. You want them to start basically at the same point on his head. You know, they're the same size. They can be very different, you know, depending on how he is. They can be turned backwards and stuff like that. They're kind of simple to do, but there's a little formula to it. So I'll try to break it down in a simple way. First of all, above like that mask area, just kind of put a little mark so you know they're starting in the same height. Okay. So I'm going to go on this ear first, and I always just kind of like feel it out, but it's an S curve, and I'm going to draw just this first main shape first. Now he has that notch on the top on his right ear. There's a top notch on top, and the left ear there's a notch on the bottom. So I'm going to do this S curve first from here. Okay, so that's the first curve. It goes up like that. It's like an S. So at first it curves towards his head, right? And then it curves away from his head. So towards his head, then away from his head. Or at least that's not if you start from the bottom. Okay? Now I'm going to draw the whole shape of this inner ear before I put any notches. I'm going to draw kind of lightly. Draw kind of lightly just so I can feel it out. And again, I'm using this arc of my hand here, so it's nice. It's a nice clear arc. Okay, so I'm drawing like that, like that whole big shape. And I draw kind of lightly a little bit. So this doesn't have any thickness to it, right? It just almost looks like a lasso. But how you give it the thickness is on this inside. I'll do it just like looking downward. You want to go, imagine this is like a thickness right in here, okay, this fold. So you're going this way initially, and then it curves up into it. So this would it'd be like that. Okay? So that's like this, the ear is folded over like that. Okay. So now this next part down here, it gives it to be folded. You go, it's inside it, and then you curve it up. Okay. So now he's starting to have his ears have some thickness. I'm going to put this notch in here. It's not all the way up. It's kind of like about here. And it's a little bit rounded. Sometimes I've seen that not that rounded, but generally I like it rounded. Okay. That always adds a lot. We got little notches, like in sharks' fins, they put that a lot. Okay, well, it's time for the other ear. It's the same process, okay? So I'm going to do the S curve first. It's, again, towards his head, then away from his head. And I do these little lines, so they're kind of like the same height. Right, so I put a little line at the top there, real lightly, just so you can see that they're like the same height. And I draw really lightly at first for everything. Okay, so that's the start of the second ear. Okay. Now I'm going to go same thing. I'm drawing the whole big loop. Okay, so I just saw the big loop. So I have this loop in here. I'm going to put in this notch right now because that kind of helps me know where the other fold is. See that notch that's out of his ear? Okay. So now I'm going to put the way I do the folds as I did before. I'm away from the head and then curves up. Think about this thing folding over is all. Okay, same thing. Let's see, folding it over. All right, wow, we're just about there. Okay, so let me see. Yeah, this is basically him. We'll put a little bit of basic shading, because you ever notice, I got this really from comic book artists where they're doing little sketches. Just a little bit of just lines suggests, like a background a little bit. And when they're in general, you have a piece of, in a picture or a drawing, you can see something that's light because of the darkness behind it, right? So if you have a white ball against a white wall, a white background, you don't see it very well, but a white ball against a black background, you can see it well, right? So I put a few lines. If you ever notice, if you see my sketches I do, I just put a few lines. So let me show you what I mean with that. I use the side of the pencil a lot of times. I use kind of quick sometimes. I don't fill it in, but I just start to do. Okay, so you can kind of see. I did a little bit like behind him, and it means a lot. You can start to see his body a lot, right? So, but again, look how I'm not filling it in. Just a little bit goes a long way. Okay, so I'm gonna do a little bit more. And I'm gonna put some in the notch on purpose so you can see the notch a little bit better. You want them to go the same direction. I put them at an angle, it just looks better that way, not like straight across or not up and down, but like at a 45-degree angle. These are kind of like little tricks. I'll show you what I'm doing here in a second. Okay, so I've added some more. You can see I pulled out that notch. You can see the notch a little bit better because I made some dark. And I'm going to do a little bit on this other side here. There's a comic book artist, was a hero of mine. His name is Jim Lee. And he does, a lot of stuff, but he does some Batman stuff. But he did these really famous X-Men drawings, and he did these covers, but he would do similar things. Yeah, he just had a few lines. I was like, wow, that's where I got that from, Jim Lee. Okay, notice again, I'm not filling it in. I'm just doing a couple lines. I'm going to do a couple more over here. And you want to do these lines kind of quick too, so they're nice and crisp. Another thing that is really adds a lot to a sketch, and sometimes doesn't even make sense, but it just looks good, is these curvy lines. Now, you don't want too many, but if you have it on his head, it doesn't make a lot of sense. But at any time if somebody's like moving or they're at a pose, just putting these little motion lines, not just straight, but like a little almost circular, it looks really good. But even on this, it'll look pretty good. So I think I'm going to put a little, let me see. Just like here. Okay, it's real subtle, but if you see those little curvature lines there, it just gives this sense of action, I don't know, to a drawing, to a sketch. So I would say, this is probably our stitch here. I wonder if everyone's basically done. How do you guys feel about your stitches? Feel pretty good? All right. I would come around. There's a lot of people, but I just have to, if you want to come by my table. So I have a table here. I don't know if you know that or not, or have met me before. I'm at, I don't know if it's at the front or back. I'm guessing it's the back. All the artists, there's like comic artists and stuff back there. I'm kind of closer to one of the ends. If you're looking at us, it's on the right-hand side. But I have sketches. I sell sketches too, like kind of like this, but with pencil. I kind of sold out yesterday, but I'm going to do some more today. You can commission stuff too. But I sometimes during these talks, sometimes people have questions about Disney animation or drawing or tips about how to be an artist. Does anybody have any questions at all? Don't be shy. Yes.
Do you work out of Orlando or California?
In Burbank? No, I was at the Florida studio. Yeah,
Okay.
the whole time. I mean, I've been to Burbank a little bit,
Yeah.
but like, that studio is not there anymore. In fact, it's funny, there was at the Orlando History Museum, there's a whole thing on the Florida studio. It's in a museum. Like our jackets that we had and all this stuff, it's in a museum. So that's a little surreal. But, so yeah, I was at the Florida studio. Again, we made Mulan, Lilo and Stitch. It's hugely famous as Lilo and Stitch is everywhere. We made that here at Disney MGM. To me, it'll always be Disney MGM. It'll also always be downtown Disney. But so here's this. You know what? If you're an artist like me, and people actually even pay money for me to do this, is I sign the thing, right? So sign your piece of art. Wow, and there we go. So you guys have seen me complete this. I'm going to ask a trivia question. If somebody, we'll just see if somebody knows this trivia question. Let me think. Okay, so Mulan, not Lilo and Stitch question, but Mulan was my first movie. So I'm going to try to see who has their hand up first. Mulan had a family name. What was her family name?
Was it Fa?
It's Fa Mulan. There you go, man. This is yours. It used to be called, when I got there, it was called The Legend of Fa Mulan. So, I think, do we have time, or I don't know if we have time for another drawing or not. Wow, no, it's 10:30. I think that's almost, that's 10:30, it's almost 10:40. So it took us 40 minutes to do, and you know what, I can bust those out, honestly. If I had to, I can bust something like that out in 5 minutes, probably. I've done it many, many, many times, but please come see me if you want to, or you have a question, or, again, you have to commission stuff. It's staggering how busy we were yesterday, but I can still have time because it's early to commission stuff like Stitch or whatever, doing a lot of stuff. But thank you so much for coming. Oh wait, let me get like a, can I get a selfie of us? Is that okay? Okay. I'll post it. I'm gonna do. Hold up. You have to hold up your drawings, okay? All right. So kind of squeeze in, everyone, if you can. Just maybe some people squeeze in there and in there, okay? You're kind of agreeing that. See here. You might be posted on social media. Okay, ready? Okay, 1, 2, 3. Wait, let me get better on the couple. All right, awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. Oh, yeah.